taking stuff off of the engine, always be sure to disconnect the battery before you start messing with stuff on the engine. What's up, guys, and welcome back to the channel. It's your boy BuiltByRay. If you haven't, please like, comment, and subscribe. Click that bell notification so you can be updated when we drop new videos. Guys, we got all the wires off from the transmission, the neutral safety switch, the main plug to the transmission. We got both of the O2 sensors off. Cut that off and get it out of the way. Okay, we just jacked the motor up right here, and we was able to get the header to come out towards the top on this side. What's up, guys, man? We back with another video. We about to take possession of this Trailblazer, man. We about to be pulling the motor out this thing. My nephew about to be upset. We're taking over his space. We just got this thing cleaned up, man. They got it to fire up, man. We're gonna drop this thing down. We're gonna get it up in the yard. Yep, leave it straight. All right, guys, man. So we about to get this thing in here. I'm pulling this motor out, man. Guys, next day here, man, we about to jump on this Trailblazer and get the motor pulled up out of this thing. Should be quick, pretty easy. I've done one before. So I'm gonna try to knock this out all in one day today. Be on to the next project. Tomorrow is Monday, so we're gonna start the week off, man. Back on that Mustang. Stay tuned, we're about to jump right into it. First things first on this Trailblazer, this motor is gonna come out in front. This radiator support, it unbolts right here with these 4 bolts. So first we gotta loosen these up to get the 10mm bolts up out of the way, which is holding this grill. All that stuff pop out. These headlights just pop out from this clip right here, and there's another one right here. So we're gonna remove both headlights, get this front grill and all this stuff out of the way in the front, and then remove this. Then we'll start pulling stuff off the engine. We're gonna go in a time lapse, so that's what you'll be seeing me doing. Then I'll explain more. Alright, guys, so we got the headlight, the grill, and all that stuff out of the way. This silver piece right here is a transcooler. That's an aftermarket piece that was installed on here. So now we're going to take this part off right here. This is the plastic little trim that holds the headlights on. So we got that off. We're going to remove this, put it to the side. That's all off right there. Now that gives us access to this little support right here that holds the hood latch. Those 4 screws is going to come out right there. Then we'll be right at the radiator. All this whole space will be open area once we get the radiator and fans disconnected. That would allow the engine to come straight out the front right here. So now I got that out of the way. Before I dive into taking stuff off of the engine, always be sure to disconnect the battery before you start messing with stuff on the engine. You definitely don't want anything to spark. So we're gonna grab some pliers, disconnect that. I just set this right here because the cable is still hooked on for the hood latch. We'll lay that down on the floor or something like that once we get get that battery disconnected, then we'll start taking stuff off of the engine, get the radiator fans, all that stuff unplugged right there. Then the radiator will come out once we disconnect the hoses, let that fluid drain out. Alright guys, so the battery is disconnected. We got the little air cleaner out of the way that was connected to the throttle body. The next step, we're going to disconnect this plug right here. And on the fans, we're going to start disconnecting all the wires on the harness, getting those removed out of the way. Once we get that out of the way, then we'll disconnect the upper and lower radiator hose. We'll be able to pull the radiator out of the way. First, we need to disconnect the AC condenser as well. So if it's charged, we're gonna loosen that up and the freon will come out, but look like it's already been disconnected, so we don't have to worry about that. We're just gonna remove this from the AC condenser, and that allow that to come out as one whole assembly with the radiator. We'll get that off to the side, then we'll start tackling the front accessories on it. As you can see, we got the radiator and fans all removed up out of there. This whole space is wide open now. We're going to start disassembling the front accessories off the motor, disconnecting the wiring harness, and then we're going to be down to the long block and get the exhaust disconnected. Then we'll be ready to come out after we remove the motor mount bolt. Alright guys, so we got the front accessories. The power steering pump is off to the side. Our radiator, everything is out of the way. Most of the harness is disconnected. We got the coil packs off on this side. We're going to remove these right here with the 10mm bolt. All the spark plug wires is already off this thing. Set them over to the side. After we do that, we're gonna go ahead and remove the intake. So we're gonna smash it back here on the firewall. When we get ready to pull this thing out, we gotta disconnect the fuel line, and then that'll be off. And then we may get this water pump out of the way, just so it don't be so much weight on there, because we're gonna pull it out as a combo with the motor and transmission. After that, we'll be attacking the headers right here on this side, getting that out of the way. Got the intake all removed off this thing. The harness is right there laid to the side. Now we're gonna be able to get to the exhaust and then hit the motor mount bolts. Then we'll be underneath cutting the exhaust to get the headers off, and then disconnecting the transmission. Spark plugs out. The exhaust manifolds, well, the headers is disconnected on both sides. We took the spark plugs out first so that when the header dropped down like this, it wouldn't break the spark plugs that was in there, even though we're not gonna be using those most likely, but I like to do it without breaking stuff. So we got that out the way right there. Now we're gonna take two 15mm bolts, and we're gonna disconnect the I'm gonna disconnect the motor mount on that side, and on this side at the bottom, two 15mm bolts is down here. We're gonna take those off. That's what's holding that motor mount in. Then we're gonna go underneath, disconnect the starter, and get the transmission and drive shaft ready to come out. Alright, so now we got the car trucked up. Gonna go underneath. Gotta loosen up these two bolts right here holding the transmission on. We're gonna disconnect the drive shaft and get all the little plugs, speed sensor, all that stuff disconnected, O2 sensors. We're gonna disconnect all that and the linkage on the other side. And then we'll be ready to pull this thing out. We got all the wires off from the transmission, the neutral safety switch, the main plug to the transmission. We got both of the O2 sensors off, and the speed sensor is disconnected. We got to take the 4 bolts off for the drive shaft. The training mount is off. Then this exhaust, this header right here, we're gonna cut it right here. As you can see, it being re-welded before. We're gonna cut this to get it out of our way up top, along with cutting it on the other side to get that out of the way so that the engine and transmission can come out with ease without bumping into anything or binding up. So we got this little saw. We're about to use this, cut that off and get it out of the way. We got both exhausts cut. So now the headers are ready to come out. This side right here, I'm gonna get to the starter and get that down. This side right here is ready to drop down. I'm gonna jack it up a little bit higher so that it won't hit the ground. We'll be able to pull that out, get that out of the way, and then we'll get the engine hoist set up and be ready to hook a chain to this thing so we could pull it out. Have to use the plug-in Sawzall, the battery one. It died out, and we found our charger for our snap-on ratchet. We found that after we took everything apart, but at least we found it. Ready to get this thing snatched up out of here. Put all the parts up in the back. This thing will be ready to head out. Tomorrow is Monday, new week, new day. We're gonna be on to something else. That Mustang project. Still getting it in, man. Almost there. Okay, we just jacked the motor up right here, and we was able to get the header to come out towards the top on this side. Still a tight little squeeze, but we got it out. That side is out. This side then dropped down a little bit more. Probably got to go back underneath, but now we can see the starter right there. We actually have the clearance for this thing to come out on both sides now. So we're gonna get our chain and hook it up. Then we'll drop back underneath and get the dry shaft disconnected. So we then finally made it to the back, to the dry shaft. This is a 7/16 to take these off. Already cracked that one loose, but it's 4 of these. We're gonna remove these 4 bolts, and that's gonna allow the dry shaft to drop down. And then we'll be able to pull it out the back of the transmission. But I saved this for last. It's pretty easy, but I definitely didn't want fluid going everywhere. So we got this bucket right here. So when we pull it out the back of the transmission right there, it's gonna all the fluid gonna drop down in there. Since we pulling out the motor and training together, it's gonna lift up pretty high, so fluid is gonna be going out everywhere. We're about to get these bolts out. This thing will be down and the engine will be getting pulled out. Okay, we got the dry shaft out. We got this other little yoke. It's an old dry shaft that we cut. So I'll normally put these in here in the back of the transmission, so that way the fluid don't leak all over the place when we pull the motor and transmission out. All right, guys, we got everything set up. The hoist is in place. We're about to hook up a chain, and we're ready to pull this thing. The chain is hooked up on there. It ain't got dark. It's getting dark earlier now. The time changed, but you see the transmission is right there. Got the jack under that. Chain hooked to the hoist. The hoist is kind of jacked up, so we're not moving the hoist. We're actually lifting up on this little by little, and then we're rolling the car back away from the engine. Then we're jacking it up a little bit more. So we got that right there. We're gonna jack it up some more. See, this thing is ready to clear, so we're gonna roll it back a little bit more. Then I got something blocking the wheel, so actually I'll have to get under there and jack up the transmission. That should clear. That definitely helped out a whole lot. So it looked like something is still hooked up down there. Well, it's actually caught on the little bracket that holds the shifter cable. So we're gonna get that wire out the way. We're gonna get this thing out. Alright guys, as you can see, this thing is all the way good clearance now. It's hanging in the air. The radiator, all that stuff is out the way, which make it easier to come out the top with these because you got all that space. Engine and transmission is out. This thing is definitely ready to roll back. We're gonna open up the gate so that we can roll it all the way out and get this thing loaded up and be out of here. Alright guys, so this thing is all the way off. Engine and transmission hanging in the air. We did not drop any fluid from the tail shaft. Our little dry shaft trick did work. Kept all the fluid in there. You seen when I took the transmission out on that Dodge, I made a big old spill, and you can see this is no spills. Got this thing all the way out.
And almost died.
So we're about to let the hood down, put all the wires and stuff up, and we'll be able to roll this out the way so we can back up and load the engine in the truck. Alright guys, so we done backed up under the engine because like I said, the hoist cannot move, the wheels is messed up. But we backed it right into position on the truck. Now all we got to do is lower it down and close the tailgate, then we'll be good to go.